Ever heard of gray divorce? Today, I tackle the tough challenge of navigating my parents' breakup as an adult. Let's dig in. All right, so the term gray divorce is a term that refers to parents that are 50 and above getting divorced, which means they have adult children. Okay. And apparently, this number of grade divorce has doubled since 1990. So it is on the rise. So when dealing with your parents' breakup as an adult, it can be daunting and an emotional experience. But it's often, even though this grade divorce has doubled since 1990, it's still often overlooked, right? But it's still very much relevant to so many of us that are going through it. When my parents separated, we were not told, right? And if you are an African, you can relate to this. And I'm not trying to group all of Africans together, but our parents don't often talk to us about what's happening, right? And so it's harder to digest. And the reason I was triggered by this was because of Love Next Door. When Choi Sung Hyun, I'm sorry I messed up the character's name, but when his parents told him they were getting divorced, it was at a dinner table, and he thought they were celebrating, but then they told him that they were getting divorced, and you could see that he was visibly upset. And when he was talking to his best friend, Bae Si Young, which I would do an episode on their friendship, when he was talking to her, he felt like he didn't have any right to express that he was upset that his parents were getting divorced because he was 30 or 31. And so he didn't feel like he could feel upset about that. But he could, right? And numbers show that, or statistics show that 67% of grade divorced children that are adult are sad, and then 19% are devastated. So I get it. Like, I totally get it. And I got emotional when I was watching that scene because he felt like, because he was an adult, he had no right to be sad that his parents were getting divorced. Why do we do that to ourselves? Like, those are our parents. Like, we grew up seeing them in a unit. So now that they're going their separate ways, why are we not allowed to comment? Now, if you're African and you're listening to this and you've gone through this as an adult, let me know how your parents dealt with it. Like, did they talk to you and your siblings, or if it was just you, did they talk to you about going through a separation? Like, hey, kids, we're getting divorced, right? Tell me, did they? Because I want to know. I had no idea this was coming, right? All of a sudden, they just stopped traveling together. It was hard. It's still, if I'm honest with myself, it's still hard dealing with it. It's been over 5 years that this has occurred. But I think also the fact that they never told us that, hey, we are going our separate ways. We just woke up one day and our whole family dynamic just changed. So I'm trying to help you cope with this because, first of all, what you are feeling, if it's sadness, if it's devastation, it's totally valid. You're not being a baby just because you're upset that your parents are getting divorced. You are totally allowed to feel sad, to grieve. I mean, like, you have to grieve your youth, because you're thinking, wait a minute, were they ever happy together? Was my youth a lie? Like, yes, that might sound like an exaggeration, but just because you're an adult doesn't mean that doesn't hurt that your parents are no longer together. Because if you think about it, it's like holidays are going to be different. Am I going to go to my mom's house now, or my dad's house, right? Because we're not going to be under the same place. You know, it's totally different if you're honest with yourself. So, yes, when they tell you, you are allowed to totally say, I don't like this. I don't know why this is happening. Now, if it was a toxic relationship, I get it. They needed to have gone their own separate ways a long time ago. But I'm just saying that how you're feeling, the sadness, the shock, the loneliness, it's very valid. It totally is. So validate that for yourself. Understand that, okay, this is happening and I'm not happy about it. Be aware of what you are feeling. Then I would say, too, in coping with this, is to seek therapy or counseling. I had to. And I know that if you've listened to a lot of the shows, I've talked about going to therapy. It's important to do that. It's so helpful to help you process your emotions and then develop like how you can cope with it, like strategies to coping with it, you know, with a professional in a safe and neutral place. And then you get to explore how you're feeling and work through the situation, right? And be able to establish boundaries with your parents and what they're going through. Communicate. And 3, communicate your feelings with your family members. Like, it's crucial. And if you have siblings, like, all of you could kind of bond like that. Now, they might not all feel what you're feeling. You know, you might not all feel the same way, but you're all going through the same thing together. If it's aunts or uncles, talk to them, but also talk to your parents. You might not like what they have to say, but just talk to them. You know, and it's different, and it's okay to have different opinions with them and different reactions from them. But the fact is that you need to be vocal. When my parents separated overnight, I felt my whole world had been turned upside down. You know, I had no idea how to navigate this new reality, you know, and it made me really sad. And the first thing is me acting like I was over it. But watching shows like Love Next Door and seeing, you know, someone going through that, it's triggering because it's still a reality that I'm navigating. But I know it's not about me, right? It's about them and they're doing what's best for them. But it still doesn't make it less easier to navigate through. But I have learned to be resilient, you know, but being resilient is not about being strong all the time. You know, you have to be brave enough to be vulnerable. And so that's what I mean by saying, if you're sad, tell your parents you're sad this is happening. You don't need to go to, but I understand. No, you're sad. Be sad. And when you do understand, you tell them you understand. So every step you go through, validate that and keep it pushing once you've come to a different understanding. But you are allowed. How you're feeling is absolutely valid. You don't have to be a child. Like, you're not a child because you're upset that your parents are getting divorced. You're still their child, even though you're an independent adult. So dealing with your parents' breakup as an adult, it requires a lot of emotional labor, self-awareness, and support, you know? But one thing you have to understand is that taking care of yourself is not selfish. Like, it's necessary. So remember to seek out therapy, establish boundaries, and communicate your feelings and prioritize your own emotional health. Like, it's super, super important so that you're not triggered. It's not easy dealing with your parents getting divorced at any age, right? So I do want to hear how you coped with it. What did you do that was different from what I listed? But before I leave you guys, I do want to encourage us with a daily devotional that I had for today. And it says, anxiety is a result of envisioning the future without me. So the best defense against worry is staying in communication with me. When you turn your thoughts toward me, you can think more positively. Remember to listen as well as to speak, making your thoughts a dialogue with me. If you must consider upcoming events, follow these rules. 1. Do not linger in the future, because anxieties sprout up like mushrooms when you wander there. 2. Remember the promise of my continual presence. Include me in any imagery that comes to mind. This mental discipline does not come easily because you are accustomed to being God of your fantasies. However, the reality of my presence with you, now and forevermore, outshines any fantasy you could ever imagine. Bible says, be not anxious for anything, but in all things give thanks to God. And so if you're feeling anxious about your parents being divorced, about anything, finances, housing, you've got to give thanks to God. Surrender it to God, because He's got you. So that is our show for today. I do want to thank you so much for watching and listening. Until next time, y'all, please give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and do share it. And also, if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe just so you know when we have another video for you to check out. Until next time, y'all, please take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and above all, be kind to others. Bye, y'all.